So there's this content creator that's been uploading like all of these DL Marine stories, and I wanted to react to them on stream.
DL Marine story, part whatever at this point. And this is just going to be one story because this story is diabolical. And this is one I've been waiting to tell and debating if I should even tell it. So me and this little Marine, we have an ongoing thing, always casual with most of these boys. But he would take me to dinners in Wilmington and we would make videos and he would watch the videos. And we were open with it, and he ends up getting deployed to Norway, I think. It was Norway, and he was going to be there for a month. And at one point in the middle of the deployment, he asked me to send him some videos and who have you been seeing, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh, I've been seeing this really hot guy. I sent him the videos me and this other guy make. And again, these are all DL. These are all from Grindr. So I don't know their names. I don't know anything. And he sends me a video of himself to the video. And then so me and this new guy have been making videos consistently, and I keep sending them to him. And eventually, somehow, I think he's tooted up, I'm filming from this angle, and he looks behind, and then I send that video, and my Marine in Norway goes ghost. And I'm like, what the hell? Because this was not like him. And so eventually, I think 2 days later, he goes, sorry I ghosted you. That video you sent me was my brother. And he was like, all these videos you've been sending me, have they been my brother? And I was like, yeah. And the last text he sent me was just, oh my God. And I didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to say. We stopped talking after that. About 2 months later, I go stalk his Instagram because it popped up and discover people you may know. And he got married within those 2 months. When you cook them so hard, they have to marry some poor woman. And it's a cute little alt girl too. But I hope he doesn't do anything crazy.
I'm dead. I'm so dead. Okay, wait. So she's really funny. There's a couple of different ones she's done. Okay, Diabolical DLs. Let's just get into it.
Ranking the crazy shit Marines have said to me in bed or like post-coitus. Number 1, this one guy didn't clean out the best. So shit happened. He turns around at me and goes, did baby make a oopsie, mommy? And I started laughing my ass off, and I couldn't get it up after that. We did not talk again. Number 2, I just got done with this guy, and he was laying in bed, and he was telling me, like, oh, how he ended up here, because he was one who would, like, make an account, delete it, make an account, delete it. He was like, yeah, I just found out I got my wife pregnant. I said, oh, hold up. Wife pregnant? And he's, yeah, with our second kid. And I said, second kid? And he goes, yeah, I was gonna divorce her, but I really didn't want to be with her, and then I got her pregnant, so I really just needed to unwind. And I was like, so you came to me? He's, yeah, thank you. And then he left. And then 2 weeks later, he texts me again and is, she miscarried, can I come over again? I was like, wow. No, Bobby, no, you can't. Number 3, and I know one of you girls will know this story. Me and this guy talking for about a month. He finally comes over and he's telling me all these pretty lies. Oh, I have a Tesla. That was actually true. He hit my neighbor's mailbox on the way out with his Tesla. And I was like, don't they have precautions for that? Anyways, I want to marry you. Like, I could see us being together, blah, blah, blah. So he comes over. It's 9 a.m. and I usually don't do morning things, but we do our thing. We're finished. And he's showing me Has-Been Hotel.
Stop.
On his phone. And then a call comes and I see the name. And I was like, I know exactly who the fuck that is. So I take my phone and I call her and I go, hey sister, so Caden, right? I think that was his name. And she goes, he just left my bed this morning. And this man convinced me to go in him raw, which I don't do because I'm not like you nasty girls. And I rightfully freaked the fuck out. I was screaming at him, just screaming at him. Tesla pulls out, hits my neighbor's mailbox, leaves. And then I went to Planned Parenthood to get PEP because I don't play with that. Yeah, I love my troops.
She's too much. That was so much. That was so fucking much. Like, just the beginning, the middle, the end. Dark-sided. Very dark-sided. I'm dead. I'm so dead. The thing I thought about when I was watching this is I've had a shocking amount of experiences with men who end up complaining to me about some girl that they're with, but never because I chose to be with them before I found out about this girl. Often like after the fact, right? I don't know how to say this, but There are a lot of men who use trans women as like their free therapist. People who they know they're never going to be forced to like actually do any sort of public loving for. A lot of times they will use them as like their free therapist. And some of the men that I've been with, and mind you, I'm saying this, but this is a really long time ago. I haven't been with a guy like this in a bit because I have standards now. And also I'm very polyamorous and happy. But I've had a lot of experiences with men where like we meet, they start talking about their relationships with women, and you really quickly figure out that they hate women. Like it's not even like it's like they feel forced to be with women in a lot of ways. And it is like a sad thing. It's part of why I try to make some of the content that I make, because some of these men will just lie. At least if I'm believing them. If I'm believing what they tell me, they're just lying to women. They're just lying to women. They're just literally saying like one thing to them, another thing to me, and all because they're too chicken shit to actually do what they want to do or be who they actually are. And I think what makes it hard is, at least in my experience, most of these guys, it's not like they're not attracted to women. It's just a lot of times they have these very maladaptive relationships with them. A lot of that comes from what they assume a relationship with a woman is supposed to be. Like this this girl talked about how this guy got this woman pregnant, and like even though he wasn't interested in being with her, he was like, I'm going to marry her because I got her pregnant. That's a thing that these men feel like they're forced to do, when in reality every single one of those movements was a choice. You know what I mean? It was a choice you personally made. And that's why I think that these dudes are always full of shit, because it's like you could choose to be not a coward, but I think you prefer being a coward.
Part 2 to the crazy shit DL Marines have said to me, and I have notes in my phone for this one. So to start, somehow everyone knew it was Jacksonville. I'm not in Jacksonville. I'm in Wilmington, which is a destination city for Southern losers. And I can say that as someone from San Diego. We're surrounded by 3 military bases. Marines up in Sneads Ferry, Jacksonville, and I think there's sailors there too. We got the Army in Vietnam, and then there's a couple down south. So nearly every guy, because I like big masculine men that I deal with, are typically military. Because the frat boys are like the skinny twinks. If I want a skinny twink, I'll get a frat boy. If I want a big masculine man, it's most likely going to be a Marine. And now, before I get into the stories, let me address some comments. Mac Daddy says, I'll take things that didn't happen for 200. And sir, I know someone wanting casual relationships with you is probably a foreign concept because you look like that. But all I want to ask you is, where'd you get your boobs done, sister? Love them. Rainy Days ask why Marines specifically. They're the fun. They're the most fun. They're crazy. All of them are cooked. Absolutely destroyed. The only man that I ever see myself settling down with was this Army guy, but he's a liar and gaslighter. And if you're watching this, I get the self-esteem issues that you have that make you do that. Text me. Anyways, let's move on. And then an account with a bunch of Z's as their name asked, what's my favorite unit in the Marines? And I'd have to say the MARSOCs.
Damn.
And my first story is about a MARSOC. Now, this guy, he was like 40. And when he first told me he was a Marine, I was like, that's bullshit because you have a beard. And then he was like, I'm Special Forces. And I didn't know what that was at the time. So I was like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. But then he showed me a bunch of pictures when we were in bed. And I was like, oh, damn, you've done like some real shit. And then we proceed to have the best, oh my God, the best relations ever. Oh my God, he was doing tricep dips
the
on
Jezebel spirit.
Crazy.
I'm dead.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. He was doing things I haven't even seen on the hub.
Stop.
And so we're having our post-coitus conversation. And it comes to his tours that he did. I think he did 2 in some Middle Eastern country, or I almost want to say it was somewhere in Africa. But then he was like, can I tell you something? And I immediately like, oh God, what is this guy going to tell me? And he tells me, I used to do things to the dead body. And I said, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, do things to the dead body? Because my mind goes directly to, I don't think I can say that on TikTok. But he tells me, oh, sometimes I would just poke them. And I was like, I turn into the people in fucking Jurassic Park when the T-Rex is at their thing. I'm like, if I don't move, he can't kill me. And then, so he finally leaves. I'm like laying in bed, like, what the motherfuck? but I did text him again because it was so good.
Stand up. Stand up.
But let's do a more uplifting one after that. So the second story, this guy on Grindr, he tells me that he's a, and I was like, okay, that's usually something reserved for women.
I just realized you guys aren't seeing it.
But I'll take you at your word, because I know some bottoms, like, sometimes, like, stuff can leak out. And that's what I thought.
I'm sorry.
So he's tooted up in my bed, worst arc ever. And he turns to me and he goes, I'm about to. And I'm like, okay, we have the towel down. He proceeds to piss all over my bed. I'm not even fucking kidding you. Just fucking pisses like a cat, sprays like a cat. And I'm like, so I stop and I go, did you just piss on my bed? And he was like, no, and I was like, no, you just pissed. You pissed everywhere. And of course there was a towel down, but the towel was prepared to catch like a spurt, a rope. It wasn't prepared to catch a shower. And yet I finished. And also this was in my, like, all of these stories, by the way, which will hopefully make this seem a little more normal. I was in a bender era.
Okay, girl.
I was hitting the slopes during these stories because when I'm sober, I don't do shit like this.
That makes sense. That makes more sense. That makes more sense.
And the worst part about the story is, did I change the sheets after? I did not.
Girl, stand up. Stand up.
I didn't wash them for like probably a month after that.
Stand up. Stand up.
And with that, I think I'm gonna leave you guys.
I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. Not that. As I'm watching her videos, I am reminded of the era that I had when I was in San Diego. When I was younger, I used to go to San Diego all the time because I would go to these parties, and these parties often had Marines. And especially back when I was younger, I definitely would say that, like, I was more attracted to that kind of thing, like that sort of like hyper masculine military guy kind of thing. But bitch, like, she's not lying when she says that some of these guys are like really out there. Like, I've never, and thank you for your service or whatever, but I cannot say that I've met a Marine who I thought was like normal, if I'm being honest. Can't say that I've ever had the pleasure, unfortunately. Like, I won't even go through my stories, but like the part I used to go to, it was like predominantly populated by Marines, and occasionally I still go down to San Diego for parties of the such and the like, and they are very heavily attended by Marines. But these days I'm more of a voyeur than a dirty hoe, like I was back in those days. I look but don't touch, because I don't know, I just don't. I like myself too much, and I don't want to die, if I'm being frank. All right, I'm almost done with my makeup, so we're gonna watch a couple more, and then I'm gonna start my other stream.
I'm getting inundated with DMs asking, do you know ex-Marine, first name, last name?
Oh my God.
I need to give you girls a little DL tutorial. Number one, they are not gonna use their real name, so if you want me to tell you, you're gonna have to send a picture. Number two, they'll use different Snapchats. So anytime, usually I add a Marine from Tinder or Grindr, they'll give me a Snapchat, and the Snap score will be somewhere from like 5,000 to 20K, and I know it's a fake Snap because it's a generic name, rarely a Bitmoji, and sometimes I'll literally find out if they give me their phone number, a new Snap will pop up, and I'm like, oh, that's their real name. So if you think your man is DL and you go to the Snapchat, he's not going to be doing DL activities on his actual Snap. You're going to have to log out and see if there's a second account. If there's a second account, I got bad news for you, girl. And then also another DL hack that I helped one girl out with because she didn't believe me. I said, go to the App Store, go to Grindr, and see if there's a little cloud, the little cloud that you click to re-download an app that you've downloaded before. Lo and behold, guess what she found on the App Store? The little cloud. So that's another way to find a DL. And number two, if he's constantly cheating, constantly going out with his boys, if he goes to Ibiza nightclub Wellington, and honestly, if you confront them with it, they're gonna deny. But if you set it up in a way where you're like open to it and you low-key manipulate them a little bit, you can get the answer out of them. You can be like, what do you think about being like bi or like a some? And they'll tell on themselves. But if you do it in a confronting way, you're just gonna push them back into the closet. You gotta be smart.
I think the thing that is depressing about a lot of this is, okay, I had an era of time where I connected with men that you could say were DL. It's been a very long time, but it is part of my history. When I was connecting with men who were DL or were like not out, now there's a whole conversation to be had about DL as a term. I personally think that DL doesn't just mean closeted. I think DL means like a very particular thing. That's another video for a different day. But long story short, there was a phase of my life where I interacted with men who, let's just say, weren't very open about what they're interested in, who were not gonna communicate to any of their partners that they had an attraction to transgender women, and in some cases had an attraction to men. And I think what stands out to me about those men is that a lot of these men, they have a way of looking at, let's just say, sex with a person who's designated male at birth as basically not counting. Do you know what I mean? It's the same, not the same way that some people will think that a relationship between two women isn't like a real relationship, right? Like it comes from homophobia, right? But a lot of these men, they think, oh, I'm just fucking someone secretly really quickly. It's not actually part of me. And so a lot of these men are like, they're not ever going to identify with it. And it's a fascinating thing because you kind of learn through having some of those experiences that like, there are just men who, if there's a hole and it's available, they almost don't care what it is. And that's really scary. That's really scary. That's really fucking scary. It's really fucking scary. But it's a lot more common than I think a lot of people think. A lot of men will look at like having sex with other men as almost like self-management, just bros being bros. It's really fascinating.
Welcome to the next installment of Diabolical DLs, and I've woken up the conversation about DL Marines and DL frat boys. Now let me wake up the DL gym bros. I go to Planet Fitness, and you would not believe the amount of messages I get, and so I'm gonna read some now. And I've had probably about, I'm not kidding, 15 people come up to me at Planet Fitness within the last week telling me they follow me on here. So you guys are gonna love this story, and you're gonna look at every man in this gym in different eyes now. You're welcome. I've never done anything besides with a toy, and I'm shy as F. You're f***ing piercings, I said, and then I blacked out that message because it was extremely H-word. And then I said, I make all the men crazy at that gym. And then he said, I know Cap have to walk away when I see you because I start getting hard.
Oh my God.
This is a more wholesome one. I saw you at the gym tonight and just wanted to let you know you're beautiful. But also, I'm just impressed as hell at the way you read that book while on the treadmill. I said, haha, thank you so much. I get more messages than you think about my treadmill reading habits because I used to go on a treadmill set at 12 to 15 incline and just read a book for an hour. Now I'm about to go on Planet Fitness and take a shower. You're so hot and it drives me crazy every time I see you at the gym.
Oh my God. What?
Hi, I've seen you in the gym and want to get oofed by you. Fucked. Can you? I saw you throwing up weight in the gym yesterday. I was fighting to keep up with you. It was hot.
What the hell?
I'm not even LGBTQ, but I just seen you in the gym and assumed you'd be on here and made an account. You got me curious for sure.
Wow.
And you bitches don't believe me when I tell you I make these motherfuckers crazy. Men don't know love until they see a 6'5" trans woman who's more muscular than them. And when I tell y'all my build is insane, you can see it on TikTok, but in person, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Sometimes I like look at myself and I'm like, this is objectively ridiculous. Emphasis on the dick. But people love it.
This Grindr thing is really interesting to me. Like, I've downloaded it, I've looked at it. The most that I have been able to piece together about Grindr is that it's for meth, right? That's what it's all about. I don't know. It just seems like everyone's doing meth on there. That's what I pieced together. Everyone's doing meth and I guess fucking, but like it's mostly meth or crystal or whatever. I thought that was so interesting because this personally would scare the shit out of me. This would terrify me. If someone sent me a message and was like, I just saw you walking down the street at Hollywood Boulevard, because I do exist in public all the time. But I would be really scared if I got like messages from people that were like, I just saw you and I just get so horny when I'm around you. I would feel like I need to go home. I need to go home. Like this isn't safe. I need to go home. I had this friend group and it was all girls, and occasionally there would be various dudes who would float in and out of this friend group. And at this current phase of my life, it was weird because I was right at that point where I had just started my transition. I was not quite fully understanding how other people saw me. And at the time, I knew that a lot of my friends in this friend group, they were women who were like in their own understanding of things, taking me under their wing, so to speak. Very much this sort of paternalistic thing that I think a lot of trans women experience when they have like female friends who think that they can help them become more feminine, whatever. I have always been a person who had a fairly clear understanding of self, so I've never really responded well to that. But I still really liked them. They were really fun to hang around. And every Thursday we would go to the galleries and have these crazy, like, fun nights where we would drink and socialize and yada. One of the things that would happen sometimes is the like person who I would internalize as the leader of the pack, I'll give her a fake name, Jessica. We'll call her Jessica. Jessica was like this beautiful, blonde, like very fashionable gal. Think of your standard, like stereotypical, like hot girl of the 2010s. She was that. She had fur, she had bling, whatever. She was a cute gal. I believe now she works as a newscaster, actually. She had her boyfriend pop around, and her boyfriend was this more quiet, more reserved Mexican dude. And him and I would never really talk, but he would always kind of be there. Like he would be there as the guy who was there. And one day I went to my apartment and I had this basket, this like basket full of various toys. One of the things I remember, and I wish I still had it because it was really cute. I think I got rid of it because of the emotional baggage, but it was like this stuffed rabbit thing. And I just thought it was very cute and very sweet. And I was very thankful that I got it. But I thought back then, I especially had a hard time understanding that people were flirting with me. So I initially thought that it was like a prank because it said that it was from a secret admirer. And I couldn't imagine at the time that anyone on campus had an attraction to me like that, because at least back then it felt like the only people who were attracted to me were people who like were confused about me, if that makes any sense. Like I felt like I had a lot of like experiences with men where like they were attracted to me, but then they realized that I was trans, and then it was like this whole thing, which was very bizarre for me at that time because I wasn't necessarily trying to pass. This was my sophomore year. You guys have to keep in mind, like my freshman year of college, I was like this gender queer, fuck gender kind of person. And then I realized that wasn't who I actually was towards the end of the year. But long story short, I had this secret admirer package and I tried not to think too much about it, but I did keep most of the stuff in it because I thought that the stuff was cute, even if it was a prank. And I wouldn't find out until basically the end of the year that the secret admirer was Jessica's boyfriend. And it was so weird because that friendship, as college friendships often do, did end up like crumbling and falling away. I found that at that current phase of my life, I would have a lot of experiences where, you know, in retrospect, there was some man that was interested in me that was also associated with some of the women that I knew who didn't see me as like even part of the running, right? Like in college, a lot of times, sometimes girls can be like competitive over dudes in a way that I now no longer understand. But because I wasn't even understanding of that being a thing, I didn't really understand why she had become so distant to me, because we were like friends all the time. I would see her all the time. And then we just stopped. And I understood when I figured out that it was because of her boyfriend, because clearly her boyfriend had a thing for me and she had figured it out. And yeah, it's just a funny little thing that I think about from time to time, because it's the first time I had an experience like that. And I don't know, like it's cool to think that I had a secret admirer at one point. Unfortunately, I did not think that guy was cute. Like he just didn't have the features that I'm typically attracted to. Though I wonder what he looks like now, because he's probably hotter now. He was really rich. Apparently, I think that was a whole part of their thing. And I think that she didn't like that I was, someone that he admired, which is quite understandable. But that's just yet another, like, funny little story that I thought was relatable to this. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for this stream. I've put my face on for the most part. I'm going to come back in like maybe 5-10 minutes. I'm going to garden a little bit. I'm going to let this dry. We're going to garden a little bit. Then we're going to come back. But this was like a fun little stream. I'm going to come back. Were we really here for 2 hours? Girl, that's ridiculous.